What's up? What's up? What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Casting Couch. We are your co-hosts, Kennedy Scribe Castor, Ray Johnson, and Johnny Crown. All right, we was literally just talking off camera, and I said, "Wait, hold up, we could just talk about this in the pod." So I'll kick us off. We were just talking about how today's era is different, right? Because of social media for a lot of reasons. And sometimes that can be on the negative side of things, right? So I'll let you guys hop in, but we were specifically talking about how some communities, right, within the Black community, right, are being exploited in a negative way. Like, for example, people who have disabilities. We've noticed that people are making a lot more like comedic content around people who have disabilities, or it could be people who were of the LGBTQ plus community, right? People are making fun of that versus, sharing knowledge. But I'll let you guys hop in from there. But that's what we started talking about.
I can start off by saying, when you look back at history and the way the black man was depicted, he was depicted as a very intelligent man. And I could go from even way before Martin Luther King and the Malcolm X's, but those were the evolution. And it should have kept evolving like that. And somehow, some way, somewhere, somebody said, no, let's stop this. Let's make these people look like the lowest piece of the earth. And by promoting the 0.01% of the people within our culture that are not like this, that are the super opposite of this. You hear that in the music. You see that within Hollywood. A lot of people they choose to, present to us as our role models. And yeah, it's just so many facets that they place these people in. And now social media, it's like huge. Like all you gotta do is do something crazy and dumb and unintelligent, and you can literally become a millionaire overnight. Knowing that like in the Bible, it says a fool and his money will soon depart. You know what I'm saying? They have this knowledge that you're not gonna use that money for nothing good. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna waste it. You know what I mean? Because as fast as you get it, that's how fast it's gonna go. It might take a
Right.
couple of years or whatever. Some it don't even take that many years. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just so sad because as a culture and as a people, we supposed to evolve. Every step that we take forward, we finding somebody that's knocking our building blocks now. And for some reason we are not looking as a collective to kind of fix this problem. Only a few of us actually could see it and it's clear.
Right.
And it's so sad because every other culture doesn't do this. The minute they rear their head or see somebody within their culture that's acting that unruly, they pull them off. They pull the plug. And we won't even remember the person no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But us,
But
it's
the
gonna be somebody to top that same nonsense that you did last week, the next week. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
yeah,
We could
so
go
No,
on.
I
they
get you.
yeah. So they do like give us people to kind of this is what your culture should look like. But the thing is this for me. The more they talk about our culture and this, that, and the other, you dress like us, you talk like us, you know.
That part.
Nike didn't make dunks for you. Nike made
Mhm.
dunks because they know we was gonna go get them. It's fashionable, and then now look at you go anywhere, you see grandmas in dunks. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's to a point where just everything we do is just trying to be taken away. You have other nationalities think the N word is cool to call each other. Like that's how that
That's
word
crazy.
went from being harmful to us to now it's like other cultures just say it, and it's like I turn around sometimes looking short. He's like, really? And they be like, oh, what happened? Like, you didn't hear yourself just say that? Like, no, they say it so much, and they're not saying it in a bad way. They're just calling each other that, thinking it's cool, like they're friends and family and all that. It's like, yeah, that's something that was the God, however you say the word. It was against us. It was not for us to be happy about that word being used. And now the word is one of the most That's probably the most popular word within other cultures.
Which is insane.
which is insane.
It's like, it's literally insane. I'm gonna add by saying this. Just as much as there's systems and institutions and platforms and all of that who are trying to depict whether it's black men, right, a certain way, or just like I'm gonna say black culture, right? Because I could double down and say the same thing with like the over sexualization of black women, right? It's always been rampant. Like versus how they show us in a film versus how they show themselves in a film, or the activities, sexual activities that they have us do in media versus them. And then you can go back to the imagery of like black men. And at the same time, I can say we shoot ourselves in the foot too, right? And that's what other cultures are saying too. Is they're saying, all right, we might be stimulating this concept, we might be promoting this concept, right? And at the same time, as black people, we're doubling down. Denzel Washington on this last press run for Highest to Lowest with Spike Lee, he said this. He said it, and don't quote me, but check out the clip. The derivative of what he was saying was back in my day, you used to have talent, right? And it was your talent or your work or whatever it is that got you attention. Nowadays, you have attention, right? And that's what gets you the money. It gets you the fame. It gets you whatever it is, right? So I think these platforms are set up to reward people who are doing whatever the most. And it's not even just for us, because we can go to like Jake Paul and Logan Paul, right? A little bit different now, but like a few years back, they were just doing stunts on social media to
Right.
see how viral they can go. I think it's even more of a cultural issue. And then we look within the black community, we're doing extra. I will pinpoint a specific time, right? And all I'm going to say is Love and Hip Hop. I'm going to say two things. Two things. We lost 106 in Park, and then we got Love and Hip Hop. Like, let's think about that time, right? Let's think about the time where we lost 106 in Park. When we lost 106 in Park, 106 in Park was a positive thing, right, for the youth. Our black youth used to watch 106 in Park because they would see people who were talented or movie stars, or even sometimes politicians would slide through on 106 in Park, right? And even though maybe some of the videos were risque, out of 10 to 15 videos they showed on that day, all of them weren't risque. It was a variety of imagery that they were seeing from black women, neo soul, right? Everybody wasn't shake your butt, bend it over, right? So that, right? We had some positive, fun, clean, fun imagery that teens can see. We lost that and we replaced it with love and hip hop.
But that's
I
two
just let me
different
finish my point.
channels.
Imma pass it off. I
Okay.
promise you I'll pass it off, right? We got Love and Hip Hop. What did Love and Hip Hop first start showing us? That the crazier you were, right, the more popular you were going to be. And then we started seeing it. It was first just on reality TV, and then we started seeing people be commercially successful from Love and Hip Hop, right? We started seeing people get record deals. They started doing tours off of Love and Hip Hop. That was the example we were showing our youth at that point. We went from 106 in Park to Love and Hip Hop. I'll pause.
One thing I want to, it's kind of something we talked about last week. I think you mentioned it, Johnny. This week, I'm scrolling through my Instagram, and it shows like a flashback of the Ebony magazine with women. So I scrolled through all of them. Was that really positive? Like with women just in bikinis?
I don't know that all of it was necessarily positive, but I do know that there was way more of a variety. It was all the colors. You could see positivity, right? You could see some images that were clean images of positive black women, whether it was Ebony or Essence, etc., right? And then you still had your Come Get Me's, right? That was in mix, right? That was our Little
Yeah.
Kims and like all of that, which is fine, right? But there was more of a variety of colors. And right now, there's just one color, which is bend it over, bust it over, right? There's the drug dealer, and then there's the person who's doing stunts or whatever to become popular. That's what media shows you right now for the kids. It's like those three things. And so I'm just like, we lack that variety. Or do you
Well,
guys disagree?
I think when you ask the question, first of all, I don't know if it was Love and Hip Hop. I think it was Flavor of Love first, and then Love and Hip
It
Hop.
might have been Flavor of Love first.
that
Okay.
anyway, the debauchery on Flavor of Love, like, yo, let's spin off then. If
Yes, let's do
they
something.
could be duking, if they could be fighting, like throwing bows, let's get it then. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then all that. But as far as you saying was the cup that those women in the essence or the ebony, was it positive? Now you have to realize, like, and this will be for eternity. As far as black men, who will love to see black women not ultra scantily dressed, but looking feminine. Because part of femininity for us men is women in bikinis and, you know what I mean, dressing, look, because women love to they will tell you, I love to dress like this because it makes me look good, feel good. You get what I'm saying? Other than looking good, it makes them feel good. And for us, when we look at women, we just,
Push back, but I'm gonna let you finish though. I'm
yeah,
gonna let you finish.
yeah. And so when you in these magazines, half of the times were not necessarily for men that were stateside. This was like for military men and men that were going away and in prison and shit like that. They look at that and idolize these women. You know what I'm saying? And so scantily dressed is what they want to fulfill their fantasies. You know what I'm saying? Mental fantasies.
But it was a book that was at the register at a store, at Food for Less or all that. You could just get it and open it up. What about the young girls that looked at that and like, oh, I want to dress like this.
Now think
I
about
want
it,
to.
and it goes back to this, and it goes back to back in the days, the parents were much more aware.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? These were not
It was
Yeah.
phones.
easier too.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah,
that
it
part.
wasn't
It was
these
easy. It was
parents.
easier to monitor stuff too. It
You
was a
know,
lot
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
nah, you
you
can't
didn't
find
Yeah.
have
that.
phones that you could hide under the bed or something like this. A magazine, you're gonna have to, you know, where the hell did you even get the money to buy this magazine? You know what I'm saying? For you to be
That
flipping through
part.
it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a
You ain't have to
whole
buy that.
it's a whole nother vibe and a whole nother era that we speak of that we'll never get to see no more. You know what I'm saying? So the transition to it being like just all out Sodom and Gomorrah times that we live in, you know what I'm saying?
That part.
It's it's like hurts because at one point at some time in the future, hopefully it doesn't get, because for me, I think it just gets worse and worse. You know what I'm saying? Like the we have no inventors no more. We always try to say that. We need more doctors. We don't need more rappers. We don't need more, you know what I'm saying, athletes. Like it's like somebody that I know. He's very young and I swear I thought he was gonna be in the NBA. He had the height, everything. And he was a young kid. He had everything going for himself. All he had to do was focus on his school, and even that kind of people that can kind of take you through those rigmaroles to get you in the NBA. You see it every day. You just gotta act like you in school and focus on something. You know what I'm saying? Dude just said F all of that and went straight into rapping. And it's like, dude, you had a whole life ahead of you. You could have got into the NBA, get that money, and still rap. It's many other. It's a lot of rap NBA rappers. You know what I'm saying? That's
Remember
actually,
what Biggie said?
you know what I'm saying?
Remember what Biggie said? Every drug dealer want to be a hooper, and every hooper want to be a
Yeah,
drug dealer.
exactly.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
But it shouldn't start that. You can have a passion, but you don't need a high school diploma or to be a rapper. You don't need, you know what I mean, a college degree to be a rapper. Now to be get into the NBA, you need some type of education. You know what I'm saying? To at least get closer to that. You know what I mean? And for you to just skip all that and say, "Nah, I want to be a rapper," I think you missed the ball on that one. You know what I mean?
well, I think
But let me
no,
close. Let
go
me
ahead.
let me explain. But I feel like all this is just to say all this is happening because the bar also the hip hop bar is so low. It's gotten so low
It's
for
very long.
that anybody, you know what I'm saying, a baby that was
You
born
could
yesterday,
mumble rap now.
yeah,
Like,
mumble rap, baby that was born yesterday,
It's
mumble rap.
beyond. No, it's not
everybody
even
like,
mumble
oh,
rap no more. It's not even mumble rap.
as long
I
as
don't
the
even know.
beats hot, you can just
Yeah.
go.
You know what I
Just
mean?
say whatever you
It's
gonna say.
it's straight de dun da dun. It's they don't even know what they saying on the beat no more. They just high and
They don't
just
even
on the
rap
beat.
on beat.
They
Like they don't
don't
even
even
rap
be
Yeah,
on
on beat.
beat.
on beat.
They don't
Yeah,
have end rhymes. They don't have nothing. It's just
yeah.
nothing.
And
I
all
mean,
you gotta do is, as long as you got the BT Uncut girls in the video, you out of here.
You
After
out of there.
what was it called? What was it called? After Dark or something like that?
BT After Dark was wild,
After
yo.
Dark.
BT After Dark was
Hey,
crazy.
hey. Patty LaBelle said After Dark was her favorite time to watch it.
Wasn't it many of us's? You know what I mean?
My
Yeah.
goodness.
But who would have thought Patty LaBelle would say something like that?
I know.
They was first of all, they didn't have no social media. That whole generation was wild. We don't know what they was getting into.
For real.
Nelly with the tip
But
drill,
when you listen to the music, when you listen to the Patti LaBelle music, you know that they really had genuine love for the game, for life. Right now, these cats don't got genuine love for life.
They
Are
trying
you
to
Well,
saying?
make
I
Are
money.
you?
I think there's a bigger systemic issue going on. This is why I say our media, all this goes hand in hand with politics. I'm heavy into politics, right? If you look at the Obama years, right, and you see what they were investing into, right, and then look at what media was portraying during that same amount of time, right, the variety of what media was portraying, it was a lot different than our time during the Trump administration years, even in the Biden years, I feel like, because that's really post social media. The start of the Obama
Yeah,
years
since
was
Trump got in.
that part. The start of the Obama years was kind of the boom of social media. If you really think about it, we were going from Facebook to Instagram to
That
everything was
08.
getting.
Mm-hmm.
It was '08 going to '09, right? Everything was just getting hot. But you also look at the systemic policies. They were investing in STEM in the youth, which is huge, right? You talk about having inventors, right? Beyond that, you have to invest in infrastructure so that there's something in place for kids to stimulate their brains to want to do that, right? You talk about overall variety within the media, right? How many different black media companies existed then versus what exists now? What was their place and their stake? And then this is also around the time that BET sold to Viacom. Like you could just kind of track everything with our politics. A lot of it kind of lines up. And so I feel like it goes back to what we always say, two solutions, right? Ownership, right? Community, which we talked about. We can segue into that in a second. Like community, like what are we doing within our own community? Because clearly the next 4 years we're not getting any policies. So let's just go ahead and crack that up. It's not
3.
happening. Yeah, 3. Yeah, 3 years. The next 3 years we're
You
not
gotta
getting any
start counting
policies.
down. This nigga get
Yeah,
up out
that
of here.
part. So, what are we going to do within our own communities? I think talking to each other, like on podcasts and stuff like this, is great. And then also grassroots, like activism. But we can go back to let's segue over to community. Last week, we had a clip that did a lot of little interaction, right? And we said we were going to have a deeper conversation, right, about church, right, and how it affects all of this. And we didn't really even get into it. But I'll kick us off and then I'll pass it off. I'll pass it off to, I think, Johnny's first this time because we went right last time. My opinion is this, right? When it comes to church, there's a separation between, you know what, I'll back up. We have so much access to information now, right? Compared to what we did in the 60s, compared to what we did, prior in the 40s, etc. Right? The people in the 60s didn't have access to the information that we do to learn about how the Bible, not Christianity, but the Bible was indoctrinated down to us through slavery, and to know how they were using that as a tool and a vehicle to oppress us. This is separate than Christianity, right? Christianity is, the belief that Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose on the third day. That's what the root of Christianity. And so I think sometimes as Black people, we struggle when it comes to talking about the Bible, right? Church and Christianity as its own kind of separate thing, because church is so ingrained in our culture to where it's hard to have like honest conversations, right? I am a Christian, and yet I still find the Bible at times not to be in line with what I think of, right? And I think that because that happened, what happened is there's a lot of people like me, right, who aren't actively going to church. And the reason why that's important to our conversation is because church used to be the center of everything. It used to be the center of where we got activated with civil rights, right? It used to be where, like Johnny said, where our musicians started off as, right? Hell, our politicians, they started off at church. And now that isn't the thing. And it also used to be almost like a moral compass for us too, as Black people, about what we were and weren't going to do. Even if you were a secular artist, you couldn't do certain things because, you know, the church was going, they were going, what you would call it, show up and be like, hell no, y'all can't listen to such and such as music. So I'll pause. That's a little kickoff, and I'll go to Johnny.
Be honest with you, I feel as if the church has what happened was when anybody can disrespect like the name of Jesus and the being of Jesus and use it in any way, form, or fashion, you just basically could do anything in a sense where it's like the negativity around it is what causes a lot of this mess. Like you could never do that in the name of Muhammad. They'll stone you, they'll kill you.
Yeah,
They
that
don't
is
play
true.
games like that, in Islam. They do not play games like that. But we allow so much, a lot of things go on in the church. A lot of things go on in the church. And that's me saying a lot of things that we see. You know what I'm saying? We've
We
seen
just seen something
pastors,
this week.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm
we just
saying?
saw something this week with the
Exactly.
pastor who got arrested. He had call centers and
Exactly.
was having
Look
was
at
having
stuff like
people
that. Look at stuff like
crazy.
that. You know what I mean? And then the next week he gonna go back on that pupil and start saying Jesus said this and Jesus said that. And nobody is going to rip his tongue out his mouth or nothing. That's like ultra blasphemy. So a lot of blasphemy happens within the church from the higher ups, which gives people, the audacity to really do whatever they want to do. And the church is like not what the church was supposed to be no more. You know what I'm saying? People don't care no more about the church. And well, more like the older people still do, you know what I'm saying? Because they know prayer works. And for me, I believe, Jesus said when two or three people gather in my name, I'm right there. You know what I'm saying? So I believe more in that. I don't necessarily have to go into an establishment, to reach my creator. You know what I'm saying? Because I also believe the body is the temple and how you treat others. If you just follow, you know, a couple of things that Jesus said himself, you know what I'm saying? Be wise like a serpent and meek like a dove, and you know what I mean? Be humble like a kid, you know what I mean? Those are the people that will enter the kingdom of God. It's just it's many, and treat others, treat your neighbor like yourself, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's just a lot of them that he just mad rhymes that he was spitting back then. You know what
He was Jesus
I'm
really had bars.
saying?
Jesus
Oh,
had bars.
ultra infinity bars. Nobody can touch the bars. You know what I mean? And if you just
Yeah.
follow that, you cool, you good. You don't need no intermediary to God no more. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really all you need. And I just feel as black people, because of the way the church had acted. I mean, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when that one man, I don't want to say his name, but I think he eventually passed away, but was sending nudes to a kid. And eventually he was a pastor, very, very well known pastor. You know what I'm
We need to
saying?
bring back butt whoopings. We really do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Stuff for that. You should be able to legally get your butt whooped. I really do. I feel like if you mess with kids, you should be able to get your butt whooped.
The whole church was supposed to jump in. That's how I look at it.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But you still have
That would
people that try to use the forgiveness card. This is not what Jesus meant by forgive. That's not the forgiveness. Jesus was around
First of
saying,
all, the way that Old
hold
Testament was set up, you would have been stricken down. You would have been turned to
yeah.
sand out there if you would have
Right.
found that out. Like, what?
Yeah, so once you have a system where, in this case, I mean Christianity, especially in the Western world, where you can basically use and abuse and still get away with it, people will eventually look away from it. You know what I mean? Because as human beings, regardless of religious or creed or race, we evolve mentally. That's why we have computers now. There was no computers in 1920. You know what I'm saying? That's why we got AI now. There was no AI in 1990. You know what I'm saying? And we got cell phones now. There was no cell phones in 1919. You know what I'm saying? So we evolve as a human, as a species, mentally and emotionally. We also evolve, but some of us just choose to not evolve. And those are the negative ones that want to cause chaos and want to influence the ones that are not smart enough to see how to get out of the matrix to do the dumb stuff that is causing all the problems in society, within our community, within our culture. And for some reason or the other, the church is not addressing it. Because all of this stuff that we talking about, honestly, the church is supposed to beat us to address it and fix it, especially what's going on within the community, like the black community in Chicago with all the violence, Atlanta, New York. We could go on and on. The church is supposed to beat everybody to it and stop it.
Yeah.
Take all the guns out the hood. Like, mentor these kids, bring them in the church, treat them and raise them with the word. Like, these are easy things that can be done. You don't need money for this. You know what I'm saying? If they took a rec center out of the community, build a whole new rec center, or bring them to church and create a spot where they can, you know what I'm saying, play ball or whatever. If they took music out of the school, which they did a lot of that, then bring them to choir. Let them learn how to play drums and all this other stuff. But it's so much more, because honestly, a kid that is growing up and doesn't get to play instruments and doesn't get to play sports, it's going to pick up a gun. Because trust me, it's an equivalent in the mind of a kid. Like, yo, I could use this to create, not knowing it's a destructive tool. But remember, creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna land like that.
That's tough.
Yeah.
DeBray, what you got to add?
I don't. What was the original question?
It was just about church and what happened and why it's not, why we're at where we're at when it comes to media, society, all of it.
Yeah. So church, because my church is a Bible church. A lot of churches and a lot of pastors are not preaching from the Bible.
Agree.
They're preaching real life things. They take a scripture and they twist it this way and that way. And if he went to Luke chapter 1, verse 3 or verse 1, he did not get past verse 2. You know what I'm saying? He used those two verses for
And
his
it
whole,
ran.
and then it ran. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, I mean, like, okay, that's cool. You preaching real life and everything like that. But when you really, grew up, you was really in the aspect of hearing the pastor preach from the Bible and what he was talking about through Christ and through God and stuff like that. And not so much just giving you a real life situation, so to speak, and then just keeping the sermon on that the rest of
And then the hoop
the time.
line for 30
Yeah,
minutes. That part.
yeah, yeah. So that's where it got lost as well. And as far as and then they really need you to tithe, because you
Ding, ding,
how
ding.
how how else do the church stay open? You know what I mean? Like, how else do the lights stay on? How do you pay for this, you pay for that within the church? It's like you pay bills at homes. I mean,
But if
I,
they
I
did
ain't
their
saying
job,
pastor,
though, they did their
they
job
wouldn't have to
right.
worry about it.
Thank you. Because people will tithe. If you're doing what you're
People would
supposed to
tithe.
do in the
Yeah.
community, they see that money go back, they're going to
Hmm.
tithe. Keep going.
Exactly. And then, I ain't knocking none, but if you pass the collection plate around twice, it's like, yeah, this second time. And I've been at churches, even to the point where on the envelope it says pastor donation or pastor
Which is
something,
crazy.
which is something for the pastor.
It's
So
actually against the Bible. If you really read the Bible, you know that the church it takes care of the pastor. You're not supposed to do, well, not supposed to, right? It's not a real
right.
line of not supposed to, but based off of how Jesus was structuring the church was going to take care and provide for the pastor, not you
It the
asking for us to pay for the pastor. It's
Is the
totally different.
congregation the church or no? Or you just saying
Yet
the
the
church?
congregation is technically the church, but it's talking about the structure of the church, meaning that I don't have an issue if the pastor is really doing church 24/7 for him to have a salary because he has a family, he has a house, right? Like that's how you take care of the pastor. But you doing an
Some
extra
pastors,
collection plate,
some churches, my mama church, they get a pastor a house.
that's fine too. If you really are
It's a
doing the
pastor's
work of
house.
God. I don't have an issue with that if you're really doing the
Right.
work of God. Right? You're really helping the community. But best and believe you shouldn't be up every month on a vacation in Belize or in Mykonos. You should be out here in the streets with the youth. You should be out there going to visit people in jail. You should be having a prayer circle. The pastor needs to be working how like Jesus was working. He only rested on a Sunday. So you choose one day off. But other than that, you should be really in the community. But keep going. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, that's about it for me. Just, given that and then growing up in the church, of course it changed throughout the years, and it is given so many kids musical outlets. You find the
Mm-hmm.
singers, you find the drummers. I got a few buddies that's out here from Chicago, and they out here making money on Sundays and I think Tuesday or
Running
Wednesday, and they playing instruments. They in the at
I'm
the
like,
church
yes
getting
and no.
bread.
Now
Yeah.
I'm like, yes and no. Okay, so I'm gonna go in. And I'm going in because I am somebody who identifies, so we're clear, identifies as a Christian, and I grew up in the church. I grew up going to church every Sunday. My church was also Bible based, right? And I saw that particular church change over a period of time. It started off as very much serving the community. Our OG pastor, I mean, was amazing. Huge youth program. We're talking about hundreds of youth. He would pay for us to go to youth retreats. They gave scholarships every year. They offer SAT prep, right? They offered all types of resources for families, right? He even was at one point going to build like an apartment building for people who were in the congregation that were homeless so they could stay in there for free. Like Pastor James D. Carrington, shout out to him, was a real one, like through and through, right? And I'm not gonna say what transitioned, right? I'm not gonna say what transitioned to later, but what happened was, unfortunately, he got elderly, right? And what happens is they start to try to get somebody else, right? And when that person started to go through the process, we saw the congregation just take a huge dip. We're talking about this was every two services was probably like 3,000 people in a service. Like it was rocking like that, right? And we started the change go from where I feel like it was serving the community to becoming strictly a business. And the problem with church, I feel like right now, is church is a business. Now, some people be like, well, you should run a church like a business. I'm not saying you shouldn't have business skills, right? But the church should not be a business. The church should be serving the community. And a good example of that is, all right, maybe you have one Sunday where you have the pros come, you know what I'm saying, and play in the band. But why are you guys not having a program to where you're teaching kids for free, right, how to use those instruments? When I was
That's
growing
the
up, a
youth
youth
church. Yeah. Youth
choir,
choir.
the
Yeah.
youth was out there playing in the thing, right? I got my first introduction to music was because of Pastor James Carrington, right? The first time I rapped in a pulpit. Pastor James Carrington used to let us do whatever it is we wanted as long as it was positive, right? And it was for God, right? He provided a platform. So imagine if the first time I would have rapped would have been in a totally different space, right? Where would my concept in my mind, maybe I would have been one of them bended over, busted open girls. We don't know. But I was provided with a platform that was positive, right? So
Right.
I had a positive outlook on music. And then it also allows people to develop. So to sum this up, right? I think we're all on the same page that the church is not doing what it's supposed to be doing in the Black community. And to Johnny's point, I never thought about it that way, right? You got people playing God in church. You couldn't play with Muhammad. Hell no, they would be beating your butt. You couldn't play with Buddha. Hell no, they would be beating your butt. So why do we allow people to play with God? Why do we
You know
allow
what?
Go ahead.
That with Muhammad is, at least we all know Muhammad was a person. So now we're going off a spirit and you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. And if nobody ever really, I'm not trying to say this is why they'll do it, but this is a reason that people will play with it. Muhammad
Oh,
was
because who
real.
can verify? So who can verify? You're saying because it's the Holy Spirit, right? But even, but well, I guess that's your point. But
Nah,
it doesn't. I
Yeah.
nah,
don't know.
I think what it is, honestly, is because of the fact that Jesus has been depicted wrong for all these years. We know Muhammad is a person of color, but if we
That
knew
part.
hundred
That
percent
part.
that
We
Jesus
know,
was
but
a person
Jesus
of
is
color,
Black.
he
Jesus,
ain't playing.
Jesus.
Like good times, Black Jesus. You know what
Exactly,
I'm saying?
exactly. We don't
But we do know
listen, we
that.
don't play
We
with
do know that.
ours. We don't play, especially if we have like a figure, like if somebody came to you and said, Obama is this or that, you gonna be like, yo, you gonna chill with that. I don't care what
Right.
you say. You don't
I
disrespect
don't
my
care that his
Obama.
mama white.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
don't care that Obama is a yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
So
we
it's
was
like,
claiming Clinton at one point.
you
That's how
feel what I'm
bad
saying?
we.
You
That
feel me?
part. I know that is a good point,
Even like
Johnny.
anybody that has risen to this level of respect within our community that we love so much, we don't play with, you do not come and disrespect them in front of us. You can't disrespect Malcolm
That's
X. You
true.
can't disrespect Dr. King. You can't disrespect Bob Marley. You can't disrespect Michael Jackson or Prince. I don't care what the media be the one playing those games. You know what I'm saying? To try to
That
They can
divide
part.
us
have
as
white Mike
human
though.
beings. You know what I'm saying? So and that's why I feel like if we knew and this was known for the last 5,000 years that he was a person of color, trust me, we
Yeah,
not
I
10
mean,
toes down. I don't care what you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They can
right, so
have
I
the
agree.
white Mike though. We
I'm
can
not
keep
doing
him.
this. We're not doing this. We're not even that
Brown
is a
skin,
whole
light
nother
skin Mike, we'll take him. But
Exactly.
y'all
That's
I
can
do
all
have
that
white
believe
is.
Mike. Y'all can have
I do
white
believe
Mike.
black people behave that way. I'm gonna double down on what you're saying, Johnny, right? I do think it's the lack of identification, but Jesus is black. So we're very clear, right? Everyone else in the world knows this as a fact, right? They portray this as a fact too. It's just only in America, right? And then you go to some European countries that you see Jesus depicted as a person who's white. It is literally the most illogical thing that you can absolutely say. Jesus was born in a region where everyone was brown skinned. So that's number one. The second thing, just look at your own Bible. It says that his hair was made of wool. What white person do you know whose
Wouldn't that be
hair? Like, would you like
And
where is
and don't and
like this
don't and
is
add to
laughable.
that was also that his skin was bronze. What color is
Braun?
bronze?
No, it is, but just that. So even in that region, right? Because that region is the same thing with like Israel, Bethlehem, Gaza Strip, all of that, right? The
Mhm.
problem is what people are not understanding is what the continents look like. Magically, we teach Pangea, but when it comes to the time of Jesus, right, we're ignoring the fact that Africa was a lot closer, right, to this region, and everybody comes through Africa. All of humanity has started from Africa. So why is it that we're portraying this man as a white man with straight hair and blue eyes is insane. But that goes back to the slavery point. This is something that was indoctrined down to us. It was ingrained to us, right? And then his real name, based off of where he's at, is not Jesus, is Yeshua. That's what it was said in the region. They called him Yeshua, not just Jesus.
Yeshua. Okay.
Yeshua, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're not even saying the right name. We're saying Jesus. This is something that was a Spanish thing that was made through Europe and the King James. I don't have the time. We don't even have the time.
Oh
We
yeah,
will
we know
continue
the
this
story.
conversation.
We know the whole thing.
Like, I
We
just
can, we can go deep, but that's not
we
in
go
this
deep,
section.
but and then
We not
y'all don't even want
stupid no
y'all don't
more.
even want to talk.
We're not
It's just
stupid no
it's a
more.
lot.
All this you could look up now. That's the good thing about information, and
Right.
information is the light. We're not in the darkness no more. What it is was back then, they ain't even have electricity. You know what I mean? So
That part.
it was hard for them to even seek and ye shall find. It was hard. Knock and the door shall open. It was hard. You know what I mean?
It was real hard. And I think that goes back to why there's a separation. But let us segue, right? Let us segue. We're sticking on this topic of media, circus. Let me ask y'all a question. Did y'all watch the doc? I know Johnny watched the doc, right? Did you get a chance to watch the doc?
The
And if
juice,
not, you can still speak
the
on it.
Jussie Smollet
No.
doc.
No.
You gotta
Maybe it
see.
happened in Chicago, so it was like,
The Jussie Smollett.
Okay, all right, but we still
yeah,
talking about it. Here's the thing
talk
though,
about it.
Ray. Here's the thing. All right. So I watched the doc, Johnny watched the doc. You could talk about it in a different path because you're from Chicago, right? So here's my conclusion. After watching the doc, right? I don't believe that he made up the event. I think that there was an event that took place, right? First of all, there was two other witnesses that had no correlation whatsoever to him, right? Both of those witnesses were white. One was a lady who was across the street, right? And the doc presented new information too. That's why I say go watch the doc. So anybody who's commenting on here, if y'all ain't watched the doc, go watch it. Then you can comment on what we about to talk about, right? Or if you're from Chicago, you might have a different perspective. But there was another witness across the street, right, who said that they saw a white man, right, attack him. Then there was another witness who's working at the hotel, right? Who said they saw the person and was a white male. There was a third witness who was also outside about 30 minutes prior to the event, said she saw a white man, right, who had a rope hanging from the back of his pants, and she thought it was abnormal. So much so she returned back home, right, to take her dog from walking.
So all these people was interviewed in the documentary.
Yes, so listen to me. I'm gonna give it all, right? I'm gonna give it all. Then the other portion of it, there was a video that was edited and manipulated, right, on purpose by Chicago PD, right? That they purposely left out. I think it was about a minute of the video, right? And anybody who does basic editing could see a jump cut and know that it was edited out, right? Or you can look at the metadata. And this was the time where that hotel person, right, would have saw him directly because the guy was trying to come to the hotel. That was the witness's testimony, right? And saw that he was a white man. The other portion of this, right, that makes me feel like I don't think he was lying about the event. Now, he was lying about some things, but not the event that took place. We're going to get to that. He was lying about some things, just not that, right? So then what happened, right, is at the time in the city, right, we're talking about within months, they had that Laquan incident, remember, with the 16 shots in the Burger King, right? So the city was already on edge. I think that they didn't want another racial issue, right? And this, we know within a week, when he first said what had happened, right, black people was turning up. Justice for Jussie, right? It was going hot. And the other thing is Chicago PD is notoriously corrupt. Notoriously corrupt. They lie. They manipulate all types of stuff. My personal opinion of what took place is that, one, they paid them little twin dudes or the brothers, right? Because that story fell apart real quick when you watch the doc. They paid the brothers to claim that they did something, right? Because they cut a deal. One of them also had a felony charge. They raided their house and he had a bunch of illegal guns. So the payoff was simple. We gonna turn a winky eye to this stuff you doing over here if you come on board and say this, right? And then two, the city was on fire. Now, what I think he lied about, right? The lying about to me, and he talked about the fact that he was on drugs. Because everybody was like, how are you outside at 2:00 in the morning in the middle of Chicago and you know how cold it is? Right. But if you are on drugs, you will go out your house, right? Or go out your hotel apartment and you will go find drugs, right? And then you'll end up in Subway because you want something to eat. That to me is some basic logic when it comes to that. So that's all I'm gonna say. I don't know that he's you
Was
said go
this
ahead, Ray.
before DoorDash and all that?
So
No.
remember, this is back in the time to
Okay.
where DoorDash and stuff was only in certain cities. It wasn't in every city, right?
You
And then at
sure?
2:00 in the morning,
What year was
You
this?
sure? This just happened like
DoorDash
4 years
what
ago. Oh,
this
that's
is it.
been
This is
around since 2015 or 14.
Because
Yes, but you
I'm gonna
guys
tell
have to
you
remember
this.
when
And if somebody has to, if you in a whole new city to get drugs, you're not going out by yourself. You
no,
having
he's
somebody
already been
deliver.
out there. You guys, he was
He
out
was
there
on,
for
because he was in
he
the
was on
show.
the show, so he was familiar with the area. He already had a plug and all that,
I know, but
right?
why can't the
2019.
plug bring it to you or send something?
Thank you. See, that's where I was going with it. That's where I was
Okay,
going.
that's fair.
And he
I
could have
don't
did
know.
DoorDash for the food because you
Yeah,
got enough
That's
money to do
fair.
DoorDash.
But you
yeah.
guys are saying that because you're not high off of drugs.
Nah, it's just logic. It's just basic logic. Like
And especially in Chicago, once you
Chicago,
sell to
woo,
that one person, he gonna be like, I'm coming to you,
you
bro.
know
You
what I
on the
mean?
show, you
Yeah.
this. I got you.
Just put a
Like,
little
So it
you
was
can
extra. Just
basically
put
hit
a
your
little
drug dealer up.
extra.
You on your
it
way?
was
Yeah, go
it
give me
was
something to eat,
You know what I
so
mean?
it was 2019,
It was
right? And so the
2019, yeah.
other
Yeah, they
thing is
had.
though,
Come on.
so
January.
I feel like that's a fair statement, right? However, everybody knows where you stay because you're Jussie Smollett in Empire. So if I have somebody come to me, right, then who's to say there's not going to be a paparazzi? Who's to say there's not going to be somebody who
I
takes
don't
a
think.
picture of the drug
I
dealer?
don't,
Well, you live in a hotel, so you
yeah,
can just come in and go straight to the elevator.
yeah. It's
You know
like,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
And if he got a fob or whatever to let you up, he
yeah.
can just come. Yeah, you
Saying that
know.
I'm not saying that Buddy Boy was telling the truth about everything.
He
However,
was lying about something.
he was lying about something. I don't think that he was lying about the incident. He may have been lying about why he was outside at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, all that could have been a lie, right? However, I do think that the incident actually took place, and I think that Chicago PD tried to cover it up.
Well,
That's my personal
what I
opinion.
feel, and I listen, everybody's entitled to their own personal opinion. But what I think, I don't care if he lied or not, honestly, at this point, because he's not doing jail time. I never even if his ass was lying, you know what I mean? So they can create a whole new role where he gets, you know what I'm saying, adopted or some shit or abducted, you know what I mean? And, you know what I'm saying? It becomes the fucking king of empire or something, you know what I mean? Whatever. That would have been dope if they would have just added that to the what you call it. But instead they kind of nixed him and got rid of him and the whole show went down. I'm sad that that happened because I think his character on the show was dope. I don't know why he had to do all that or all that had to happen to him. Whatever. I don't care if he lied or if it was the truth. What I care the most is he didn't have to spend time in jail because I don't want to see another black man in jail for making a mistake or whatever the case is or a mistake being made on him. Now, I think that he should have used that opportunity to create content and go crazy with it. You know what I'm saying? Because this social media was hot, but he was one of those that was on TV. He had so much that he could have offered after that. But instead, he just went dark and silent. And the thing about the social media world
Because you
is,
know his ass was lying.
yeah, but
Hey, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. Being from Chicago, I've like never heard of white people just targeting a black person like that. Like, I've never
Okay,
heard of it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it just
I hear you.
and then
like he had the
with
noose
the
on his
now if he was
neck.
yeah, like even if he was in Indiana, maybe because you know the KKK still in Indiana, but in Chicago, downtown Chicago, like
Well, he was also, you guys, at the time though, he was also actively speaking about what you call it, protesting,
but he
right?
was
He was
for the
actively
L,
speaking up for the LGBTQ plus
but he
community
was up
and for
north.
black
He was
people.
toward up north toward where that's where it's at. Like
I
you go up
agree.
north to
I'm just saying,
Chicago,
look,
that's like going in Boys Town in West Hollywood. That's on you, bruh. If you get hit on over there, because you shouldn't even be over there in the first place if you're not
And
of that,
and
you
I
know.
heard that it was like super cold, winter season,
It was when
everybody out,
January
there was
29th.
there
That's
was there
cold.
was winter
everybody in the
season.
house. So it's kind of weird for somebody to come out just to do some, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
sinister
let me
shit.
go look for him and do something. Like, why is you walking around with the thing on you?
To say is this. It was at bare minimum, it was enough for reasonable doubt, and he shouldn't have went to jail. Why are we going to jail? Like,
Yeah,
this
So
whole
he
thing is
that's the part I
stupid.
falsely,
don't like. I don't really. Yeah,
Even if he was lying, he's going to jail for
yeah,
what?
I don't
Nobody
like
got
that.
hurt.
That's the corrupt
Nobody
part.
but
got
but
hurt.
you can't have false police reports. Like, that's a crime.
Yeah, I guess
So
that's what it
jail
is.
though,
Yeah,
fine
That is a
him.
crime. That is a
No,
crime.
fine him.
but a
Fine
fine
him.
for a fine, not for jail time. Is
Not
it
for
worth it?
jail though. That was crazy. They had a vendetta. They
Yeah,
were trying to get him.
and
Like
I
that
think
was
they
that
did
was
that.
highly unnecessary.
I think they did that to teach him a lesson and to anybody that tries to do
Teach him a lesson.
stunts like that because it was already hot. Chicago was already hot because of all that other stuff. You know what I
And
mean?
then here you come with this.
And then you come with
Yeah,
this.
Just
I think he should
I just
have
say
been like,
I got
lock his ass up. They was like, lock his ass up.
yeah.
I just
Chicago
think it was
was the wrong city for that. I think he should have went to like Arkansas or something. You know what I mean?
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with you. This is the problem with black people. This is
He
the
told
problem.
me
We are the problem. Black people take everything into a joke. My God.
he need to
Oh
hit
my
me up.
goodness.
I'll tell
What I
him
will say is
exactly.
this.
I'll drop the pin on him real quick. The exact places that he got to
Man.
be to pull this kind of stuff off, and it'll work.
What I'm gonna say is this though, right? We can speak on this and then we can wrap up. The problem that I have with this whole thing is that there is a double standard on black people that is not on white people, right? Like a white person would have did this stunt, right? And then they would have ended up being on a #1 hit either reality show, they would have gave them a movie, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they would have been like, "Oh, it's a mental health issue. Let's wrap our hands around such and such." Like, whatever, right? But for Black people, that same opportunity is not afforded, right? There is no recovery because, hell, it's so hard to make it in the first place. You think we gonna let you come back into the loop? Like, no. Like like that part. And I don't like that aspect of it. I don't like that we're 10 times harder on Black people than we are on our white counterparts. And let's just call it what it is, a mistake of some sort, because he even says that he wasn't totally honest in the process, regardless of what happens, right? He wasn't totally honest. So therefore that was a mistake. Right. But we can look at other white people who have quote unquote made mistakes. We can look at Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was getting into all types of trouble. And he's Iron Man. You see the point that I'm making?
They
Like,
didn't take nothing from him. You right about
they
that. They
take
didn't take
nothing from, they
But
took
they
but
didn't take
but
nothing.
it goes back to we not judged by the same standard. You know what I mean? We're
No.
not. For us, we are looked as the people that, as far as Black people looking at Black people, we love when you come from the rags to the riches. That's why we love the Jay-Z's. We love anybody that comes. We love the Obamas. We love Michael Jordan. We love anybody that comes from the rags to the riches is what we love. Like, you made it out that you did all of that. I look up to you. So for him, his situation, regardless of whatever was around it, he should have just started an independent movie and looked away from that. You know what I'm
That
saying?
part.
Go
That part.
crazy on the independent level and just start putting new actors on and be a director, producer, write some shit. Right as all of that was happening, we would have looked away from it and like, yo, look at what he's doing, because that's what we do. We don't really care for the media like that, honestly. We don't care. We looked away
Well,
and yo,
a hit heals everything. I forgot who said
he
that. A
killed
hit will
everything.
heal everything.
Think
yeah.
about when R. Kelly was going through his stuff.
He was
Remember
making
all
hits.
the hits he had before they was like, okay, enough is enough. Put this dude in the can. Dude had like at least 30 hits. You know what I'm
And when
saying?
he finally got, he wasn't making hits no more. If we really think about it, he was not making hits no more when he finally went to jail.
Of course.
Like, who really?
Yeah, he does things in a big studio. He's a different type of being. But the point was, we did not care for a while. We was stepping in the name of love. We was, you know what I mean, screaming. We were doing all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? While
Hey,
he was
I'll tell
going
you
through
this.
all of that.
I'll tell you this. When I go home, everybody's still bumping his music, bro.
You
His
know
music is
what?
still #1 on people playlists.
I'm
I'm
telling
telling
you,
you.
I mean,
Women, everybody. They
I think
bumping
it's
them.
I
So
think that's everywhere. That's never gonna stop. But that's my point. We don't really care too much about the media. Like, as Black people, our culture is not revolved around the media. You know what I'm saying? And what we invest in our people on a different emotionally. You know what I'm saying? We invest in you emotionally. You know what I mean? That's why we don't like. You can't say nothing bad about Beyonce. It's like, no, you can't do that. You know what I'm
Hell
saying?
nah.
We don't
It's
we don't
fighting
play those
words as
type of
far as I'm
games.
yeah,
concerned.
them
You know what I'm
that
saying?
beehive, them
You know,
they
and it's the same
is.
thing when Michael Jackson was around. We still play Michael Jackson music. But even when he was going through all that crap that he was going to, we still played his music. Because he will make music and, well, oh, listen, you rock my world. You know what I'm saying? But the minute the media comes on, because the media honestly really is shooting out messages and energy to a certain demographic. And it's usually, especially a lot of older people or the ones in older white people or the ones in the middle belt. I'm talking about in the Midwest area, in the South, deep South area. They are the ones that still watch TV like that. So they can lie to you and tell you, there are a bunch of Black people right now that are stealing and looting all over Beverly Hills, and nothing like that's happening. But they've created this image to where when they stand up or see you in the freaking supermarket, it's like, oh, they got to clutch their pearls or whatever, because it's like, oh, there's another Black man. Da-da. You know what I'm saying? Because they so used to seeing us in this dark and negative light. You know what I mean? And they absorb that. That fear is pounded on them. But we as Black people, we don't look at that. We more entertainers. That's why we the greatest entertainers. We love entertainment. And if you entertain us, oh my God, we're gonna love you forever. Regardless, because listen, to be human is to err. To be human, you have to make a mistake. I believe that's something that Shakespeare said. or Aristotle, one of the great philosophers said, to be human is to err. To be human, you're gonna make a mistake, no matter what it is. You know what I'm saying? Now, we don't want you to make a stupid mistake. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people, like, going back to what we were saying, these people, R. Kelly made a dumb mistake, you know what I'm saying? Which he could have fixed by, marrying a woman, you know what I'm
I
saying, and
don't know
shit
that
like
he can
that.
fix that. You can't fix being a child molester. I
But
don't think you can
yeah,
fix that one.
but
No,
they
I
gave him
mean,
a chance. Remember in
he
'02,
They
had a
did give
chance.
him
he
a
beat the
chance, though.
case. He
Yeah,
He
beat
that's
the
what I'm
had a
case
saying.
with
chance.
that's
I'm
what
talking
Hove
about
them.
that part. I'm talking
Yeah.
about after that. He made a bunch of music that we still loved. After that, after he beat that case. He made a lot of music we loved.
But when
And
you
during those
do stuff like
times,
that mentally, they can't stop though. Somebody like that can't stop. You're
and
that
you know why?
sick.
You know why? Because they don't have nobody in their lives that they look as and look up to as a role model that has enough power to tell them, chill the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? There are certain people that just carry a essence and energy that they just full of so much morals that if they speak to you, like I would say, for example, like Miss Tina, for example. Miss Tina is a very, like, ultra holy person. Like, and she carries that with her to where it's like it influences you to want to be a better person when you around her. And because of her status, she can actually tell anybody, chill the fuck out. If you don't listen, that means you're a very bad person if you don't listen. Because you could just get her
And
like,
I agree with
oh,
that. I'm just gonna add this, right? I'm gonna add this. I think that everything that you're saying is true, Johnny. My addition to that though is certain people can't recover because you just mentally too gone. I don't think a child molester in general, whether it was R. Kelly or anybody else, I don't think you could stop that behavior. I really don't. I don't believe that you can be what are they called? You can be
rehabilitated.
treated. You could, yeah. I don't think you can be rehabilitated for those types of behaviors. Like I feel like that's like being a serial killer. Some people just need to be locked up and put away. Let's call it a day. It's not coming back. And so, but like to our point though, I do think that if Jesse would have made some content or would have made a hit, the conversation would be totally different now because we're in 2025. This happened in 2019. We moved on from when it was happening. From I feel like to summarize today's thoughts, right? We was really just talking about media influence, lack of church influence, lack of role models, right? And then at the same time, what are we going to do about it? So I think the result of what are we going to do about it, I always like to leave on a positive note, is activism, community, right? Continue to have conversations amongst us, right? So we can try to solve these problems. And then at the end of the time, at the end of the day, you said forgiveness and supporting people. And I feel like regardless of, that's just universal humanity things that we could be doing as Black society, right? We can talk about it, we work on it, we forgive, and then we try to build something doper and better. So this has been the Casting Couch. We are your co-hosts,
Woo
Kennedy Scribe
woo.
Castore, Ray Johnson, Johnny Crown. See you next time.
See ya.
Safety.